internet world? I'm the News 19 Nerds.
I'm the News 19 Nerds.
What's up, internet world? We're the News 19 Nerds. I'm Lauren.
I'm Leroy. I'm Avery.
And we're going to be reviewing the second episode of The Watchmen. The series is on HBO. Comes out every Sunday night at 9 p.m. And they have a couple of,
Couple of what?
They rerun it again at like 11 for us.
Oh, I don't watch it at 11.
I'm late. Yeah, I think I watched this one at midnight.
I watch it on the app.
Okay. So like 9:01 is when you
No,
watch it.
I just watch it whenever I want to that Sunday night.
Oh, okay.
I watched it this morning. That's how I like to start my day off.
So what y'all think of this episode?
Oh, we doing spoiler free first?
Yeah, spoiler free. Spoiler free and everything. Just give your thoughts on as these episodes continue, they progress, we get a little bit more information just a little bit, but sometimes it's a lot.
It's a good show, man. Listen, starting things off with leading straight from how the end of episode 1 came into episode 2. It was just so dope how things are connecting. I like how throughout the episode they go back to what they might have, kind of teased in the first episode to make things, I guess, a little bit more connected in the universe, or to see like this is an important aspect of the story that you should pay attention to. Like I guess when Watchmen first came out, I'm so like in my mind Zack Snyder's Watchmen movie was like, okay, how much are they gonna go based off of this? And yet it's so different, but still with like the staple elements from the like movie and I guess the comics as well. I just really enjoy the show, and I just wish I could binge watch the whole series like in a night. But
it's one of those things where I want to watch it every week, but I also want to just binge watch it so that I can just enjoy it all and not have to wait. But yeah, I like the way that this episode just picked right up from the last one, as if this could be a long movie that they're just gonna cut into 9 episodes. And again, me being just knowing the Watchmen from the film adaptation of this, like I'm just like, oh, this is cool, and every moment, every element is giving me some more surprises. So this episode really gave some pretty random things to me, but it might make more sense to you. I don't know.
This episode I thought was really good. It wasn't as big of a shock as the first episode was, because you had already been introduced to this world and these characters. One of the things that I thought that people need to understand, this has nothing to do with the movie. This is not the Snyderverse. So your preconceived notions of what this is going to be is its tonally is going to be different from anything else you've ever seen. Damon Lindelof, who's the writer or showrunner behind this, has talked about how this is his take on the characters post the book.
Right.
So you're going to get his version of what you're going to see, and some other writers. And he talks about being one of a minority in the writer's room as far as being male, as far as being white. And you're going to see those influences through the show, even though he is the showrunner. So you're going to start seeing some of these different topics approached. You saw at the beginning of last episode, you had the Tulsa Massacre, and how that kind of set up the entire episode for you going forward, how that was going to affect you, how you felt looking at it, viewing it. It put you in a whole different mindset. So this episode started with some real things that happened, and then that took you into the rest of the episode. I would say this one is just as good. I would say it keeps the episode going, but I disagree as it was just as good. That first episode, or your pilot episode, has to just punch you in the face.
Which it did.
And this one kept the same energy going throughout. So I liked it. I definitely invested in it. I mean, I was invested in the first episode. But what I will say is this episode doesn't really answer any real questions. It honestly asks more questions.
So much more questions.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I would say it answered at least one question of the relationship.
Not for me.
You already knew.
No, I mean, it doesn't, because if you think about from everybody that you meet in this show, how you think they would interact when you watch Sister Night talk to Looking Glass, you would think they would be friends, or they would be, and you see their interaction is totally different from what you really assume it would be. You would think that the reaction with the gentleman, Louis Gossett Jr.'s character with Sister Night would be, however you've pictured in your mind, it's not that.
And do we know that if, during the White Night when law enforcement, many members of law enforcement...
Hold on. Are we doing spoilers now, or are we still talking about the episode?
We're talking about the episode, because we knew from the episode 1 that the White Night happened and members of law enforcement died. But did those characters, those detectives, those law enforcement... members of law enforcement, did they all know each other? Because maybe their relationship, like Looking Glass' relationship...
No, they knew each other. They weren't wearing masks. That's why they wore the mask. You found that out in the first episode. They wore the mask because of the White Night. Because police officers were murdered in their homes by the 7th Cavalry. So the police force totally changed. We don't know exactly how...
There's a couple that stayed.
There's 2 stayed.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but could you imagine if us in the media had to do that, like wear masks and stuff, like to go out and shoot things, or like the anchors had to wear masks or something?
Some people already want that.
Yeah.
I mean, some people already want that based on the time that we live in, where journalists are attacked. The world that we live in has changed to the point where there are people who, and you've seen them on message boards, and are like, you see lawmakers trying to pass something to protect journalists. We had a guy, we did a story today, who shot up the newspaper. You see attacks on journalists, and we have it pretty well, but there's a museum in DC, you've been, the museum, that talks about all the journalists who have lost their lives. And we're just covering the news. And we're not even the first responders. So imagine being a police officer or the EMTs who go to these scenes. For them,
what they're walking into. At least we get a press release or something.
You have no idea what's
like, hey, I'm gonna call my contact. Hey, can we come, or is it safe?
And see that changes. And think about it for a second. This episode really shows you the danger and the freedom that law enforcement and first responders have, and how that changed overnight.
Because I would say the danger was there, and it's still there, but they now have more freedom.
Well, you look at it, and that's why I said the show basically changes your preconceived notions of what this is and how this is going to go forward. We're living in an alternate reality. We've seen that from the previous episode to this one, even more, where you have, we saw in the first episode, we saw the mini squids, then you got to see some interactions with some people about that.
So other cities had the same.
Well, just other cities, but you saw the interaction with the newspaper guys.
Right.
How regular people discuss these events, and I think that was one of the things where in
Yo,
this
trust these squids.
But that's the same thing you hear.
All lies, man.
Yeah, they all lie.
That's the same thing you hear in the barbershop.
Yeah.
Like that conversation was a barbershop conversation. So it was very interesting seeing this episode go forward.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Now you're doing spoilers?
No, I'm saying you started spoiling stuff.
Well, I mean that you went there.
The squids were in the first episode.
The squids were in the first episode, but the newspaper interaction was not. So I'm just gonna
That's not a spoiler though.
Spoiled.
But yeah, I for me this episode just kept it going and it just asked even more questions. Because the gentleman in the wheelchair said that there's a giant conspiracy afoot. And then you're like, really? Are you just a crazy old black dude in a wheelchair?
Yeah. Yeah.
Could be both.
It's yeah. but okay, so spoilers. When I was speaking of questions answered.
Oh, you gotta do the spoiler thing.
Again, officially spoilers. Alright, cool. Just multiple times, 3 times, 1 time. For the 1 time. But officially, so when I was talking about a question that was answered, the relationship between Will and
Well, now we know his name is Will.
Now we know, his name is Will. But so one question's there, we know his name. And the relationship between them, we understand they're related.
We know that there is a relationship between them.
Granddaddy.
Right.
So, We know that there is a relationship. We don't know what that relationship is because she.
But he's her grandfather.
But just because somebody's biologically your grandfather doesn't mean that's your grandfather. Think
what
about
you mean? DNA proof.
Hold on, DNA proof. You can be someone's father, but that don't mean that's your daddy.
Well,
Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Y'all do. I mean,
True. So you're your father, boy.
You want your
daddy.
And so that's what you have to remember. DNA said that's her grandfather. But I'm quite sure, and again, remember she talks about my parents died when they were young. What is her, we don't know what that relationship is. Because she looking at him like, this thing.
It's clear they don't have a relationship, but I mean, they are related.
They related, yeah. And so we don't know what that is. Because I'm being like this, if you were my granddad and this first time I'm meeting you, you got some explaining to do.
105 years old, bro. Where you been?
What? Literally, where you?
But he might have been on Mars.
For 105 too.
Exactly.
But
They got Sylvester Jr. out here
But that's what I'm saying. Like, we don't know what that is.
being
So
105.
that to me, that just
Okay.
think about it. That just asks more questions.
Yeah.
Cause how you 105?
We have people that we get calls in the newsroom.
How you 105?
They have
and you
100-something
hung
birthdays.
a dude from a tree.
He also reached into some boiling water and pulled out a hard-boiled egg and drank
not only that. Not only that,
coffee.
Remember, he got out of
without
handcuffs.
blowing thing. Yeah, got out of handcuffs.
Because again, so that's why I said it asks more questions than it even.
Do y'all believe in the theory that he's what's his name, the masked person?
That's a possibility. He could be the hooded man.
The hood. That's his name.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
if
know.
you
They haven't put that out there.
So the show that plays in there, the show that they're watching is a lot of people believe it's the story that Watchmen had in the comic called the Black Freighter. Mm-hmm. So that the Black Freighter was a part of the 12 issue miniseries that played throughout the entire comic that told another story, which was another component to the Watchmen.
Hooded Justice.
Hooded Justice.
And that was a hero story, American hero story or whatever.
So
with graphic content. And I'm like, dang, what is this disclaimer?
Yep.
And kids are watching it.
He stabbed the mess out of it.
He did. Oh Lord. But so this episode again, it takes us on a journey from her conversation with Angela's conversation with Will. Dealing with, you told me to go look in his closet. I looked in his closet, and what I find, crisp, clean, looked like it had been pressed.
But even he didn't know
sitting
that.
in there for I don't know how long.
But that wasn't
Klan
even.
outfit.
But think about it. That wasn't even what Will was talking about.
Yeah.
He said, "I didn't mean for you to literally look in his closet." He was talking about a wider conspiracy, where, and remember, he said, "I have friends in high places."
That literally yoked him up.
And literally took him out when he said, "If you try to take me in, I'll be out."
Bro, let's tread back some.
Yeah.
We're jumping all over the place from the beginning straight to the end.
Because it was such a jarring. For me, it was jarring to see some of the
But
images.
so if you start at the beginning of the episode starts with the Germans during World War II dropping leaflets and propaganda on black soldiers who fought in World War II and said, "This is not your war. Why are you fighting against us, against an enemy who sees you as a person, and the people you fight with do not see you as a person?"
And
that
Will's
actually
father
happened.
was like,
that actually happened.
He saved his
that
planet.
makes it
How do you feel about the history lessons that we're also getting? And you mentioned that the writers' room is a mix of different people, different backgrounds, minority, women, everything. How do you feel like that having the writers' room as diverse as it is allowing for these kinds of history drops?
I think what's happening in this show is something that you are not seeing in any other show, with the exception of maybe your show, American Crime. You're going to see the real world and how it affects these characters. And I think race plays a big issue in it because that's how they're using that lens to show you this world. And this is the thing. Even though it's an alternative universe, the things that they're showing that are shocking or that are appalling to people really happen. The planes in the first episode really happened. The bombing of Tulsa really happened. Overnight, wealth for a group of people was destroyed, and
also known as like the destruction of Black Wall Street, right?
It's called the destruction of Black Wall Street. that happened. That was shocking to a lot of people, and a lot of people didn't know. In the beginning of this episode, when black soldiers fought for the Allies from America, they were treated poorly. Some of those soldiers did not come back.
That's why you have a lot of, I know, well, I mean, also being stationed over there, a lot of people who became, you know, have mixed race, because you have these black soldiers with German women, and
not just German. I mean, they stayed in Europe.
They stayed
because
in Europe.
A lot of those soldiers, when they were in France, because they were greeted as liberators after the Battle of Normandy and after the occupation of the Germans, they saw black soldiers as heroes, and they were like, "Why would I go back home to be treated?"
To steal 3/5.
And so why would I do this? So this is something that has happened in real life. So they're using that lens to help shape how the episode will go forward. And it honestly showed you the dichotomy of seeing white people in a more subjugated environment.
Nixonville?
And then you saw most of the cops were black. And so it gives you a different perspective of police brutality, police violence, cops who ultimate authority. It really changed how you looked at it, because Sister Knight was
mollywopped whoever dude
she
was.
did, but remember, she did not want to go
She didn't want to go there.
She said there's another way. We don't have to do this. Red Scare was like, F that.
We going in.
Red Scare was listen. He was
Y'all
bumping
took out
whatever
ours.
music.
We going to
want y'all.
Yep. He literally went in like, I am going to, like, you took one of our, but remember, that conversation between Sister Knight and Looking Glass, you would think they would share a moment, a memory with the two of them. He was interrogating her.
Yeah.
Talking about when he Sister Knight first
When they were in the-
up.
when they were in the car.
He was interrogating her. He was like,
he knew something.
well, not that he knew something. He was like,
He was on the job. He just
I don't
immediately-
trust you.
yeah.
And that lets you know he doesn't trust anybody, to the point where he didn't even take his mask off in his own house. So that lets you know a little bit about these characters going forward.
Is it just me, or what might be a lot of people? Looking Glass, the closest thing we got to Rorschach right now, right?
No.
No?
Rorschach was a misogynist, homophobic vigilante who used violence as his means to an end. Rorschach, if you go back and again, this is why I say, don't look at the movie. The movie.
So the movie was.
Don't look at the movie.
Not.
Go read the book. Rorschach is a victim of is a child of abuse. His mother was a prostitute. If I remember correctly, the chat will correct me. Rorschach is a violent individual. He is a man with his own code of ethics. Alan Moore wrote him that way because of how he viewed this type of character. Looking Glass, we don't know what his background is, but Looking Glass has not done anything violent in this entire 2 episodes. He has merely asked questions.
It's like he's a human lie detector as well, which is pretty cool. So once they get to Nixonville and they're like rounding people up because, and side note, every time I hear Regina King yell, I think Riley. when she was in there, and, after changing and was pissed off,
especially when she cursing.
She was like, ah! I was like, dang, I hear Riley.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if she's cursing. I'm like, I thought she altered her voice for these characters, but really this is just her voice.
That's just how she sounds.
Anyways, so they leave Nixonville and go. We cut to. I forgot how the rest of the episode moves, but. Dang, I lost it right there.
So remember Sister Knight and that conversation with Will. She did not grieve any time with him. She didn't display any emotion. What she did was she asked him questions. Then she left. She went and put on her Sister Knight gear, and then she came back and allowed her, and then left and then went to the scene and helped get Don Johnson's character down, Judd, and then you saw how White Knight happened. You saw
right, so she was grieving basically. She kind of grieved when she was beating up old dude.
Well, she was going through grief, but then you saw when her Red Scare and Looking Glass were getting him down, and you saw the emotion, you realized why she was so attached to him. Because of what happened on White Knight and the fact that they were pretty much the only two officers who survived or stayed on the job.
Right.
And that helped shape why she was so apprehensive to see Will sitting there and him claiming I killed him. And
when
then
she was like, wow, when he survived so much and also you're 105 years old.
Not only that, but that was probably a father figure. Because you saw them when she was like, she told him.
I'm more like brother figures.
Yeah, because I'll say, because their relationship wasn't that strong before, when she woke up in the hospital, he was addressing her, as a captain, and her last name and everything, and she's like, it's Angela.
Nope, he said, call me Judd. And then she said, call me Angela. And so that's where that relationship developed. And the question is, who was that 7th Cavalry person who had the shotgun at her head?
I want to know, and did her husband get him? Because
didn't say he got him.
Because there's a question there. Because I'm like, if you over somebody and your goal is to kill them, that was a kill shot right there.
Was it Judd?
And that's what in our offboarding conversations, that's what Michael talked about.
The question.
I don't see how.
What do y'all think of the directing of the episode? Because it's done by the same woman who did the first episode.
It was good.
I think it looked great. The directing looked great.
In terms of like the motifs of her hugging Judd's body while also bringing him down, dissolved into her hugging her husband at the same time.
I mean, but if you remember that's why I said there was a relationship there that we don't know the extent, but to me it seemed more like a father and a daughter relationship. It wasn't just professional. Because in the first episode, they had dinner together. He knew her kids.
She was cool with him doing some blow in the room.
It was
just get a little bit more wine, get some blow,
just
baby.
a little bit on your nose, bro.
And so you saw her tell her son, Uncle Jed's dead. Yeah. So it was more of
she did act like he didn't really care.
Well, you got to remember he's
growing up under her, and he already has his parents that are gone too.
You got to remember, this is a kid who's been dealing with
death.
With not just death. You've got a child who's been dealing with violence throughout his entire existence. My parents were taken from me because a group of people think one group is more superior than another.
Right. Those are her partners.
Yep. So you have a child dealing with that. You have a child who now probably remembers law enforcement not having to wear masks and then dealing with that. And then remember, this child has powers who has to probably keep that a secret from everyone he knows.
Wait, I missed that.
Because the kid was building a little...
That's not just how toys are right now?
Nope. Think about that for a second. That toy was up.
It was up, but I thought that it was like some hella teleporting pad thing that kids play with now that want to be engineers.
Did you see any of that in the show?
He knocked something down. There was a box.
He was a box.
I couldn't see what it was.
What I'm saying is, how do you think that toy got up there? Because we've seen no indication of futuristic toys with any other child.
We haven't really seen kids other than her kids.
Yeah, you have. You've seen, there's 3 kids. You see all 3 of those kids.
Yeah, but we haven't seen any.
Watch this. And people have powers in this show. So the question becomes does this child have powers? Because there are superpowered people in this show. Mm-hmm. Does this kid have powers? And remember, she didn't correct him. Normally what a mother does is try to temper those things. She was like, yeah, you allowed to be mad. And the question is he allowed to be mad? Because you really can't do anything if he really wants to be mad.
I think it's an opportunity. I think because the reason she said that in that way is because that's not her birth child. She is taking care of him. She is raising him.
Check yourself, because she said, those are my children.
Yes, there are children, but she also understands that they've been through a lot. And that you're allowed to let those emotions out and to grieve in a way, whereas like a mother who, and I've seen this before, like a mother who has birthed, a child might be more in a coddling mode because that child is mine. I have to protect them at all costs. But when you have like a foster situation like this, it's like that child is mine. I love them, but I also understand that they are going through something completely different than what I would be able to handle or understand.
I disagree. She loves those children as they are her own. and she is protective of those children as they are her own. Because when the character brought that up, she was quick to point out, those are my kids. And and you saw this relationship that she's had with him. He is dealing with a lot. And remember, in that first episode, when that little boy brought up them Redford rations, he mollywopped that kid so quick. And he was like, and she asked him, why did you do that? And what did he say? Because you wanted to. They have a relationship. And I don't know if that stopped her from chastising him more, said, hey, you dealing with a lot. But either way, there's something with that child we're going to see develop a little later.
Definitely.
And
interested to see the relationship between her and the grandfather that stopped by.
Yeah, because
as well.
Is he also? I'm not necessarily living in Nixonville, but he.
We don't know that. We don't. But the thing is, we don't know. We don't know what
affiliated.
Maybe might know somebody over.
But you got to remember what he's with the one, and you know from just being smart enough and watching this show, the little things that are said, like they don't spell it out, but he was like, when he took that check, it's about that money for him. Mm-hmm. He don't care about them kids, because if he did, he was like, it's my day.
Yeah,
I'm not leaving. Like, I don't want your money. I want to spend time with those kids. He took that check though.
Mm-hmm.
So and the thing is, what did he say when he took that check? You just love spending them reparations. Oh yeah. And so you get a sense of
reparations.
You get a sense of what these things are. And you
Can we get some reparations, please?
I'm trying to get a little bit of reparations.
Sorry.
That's it. See, that's what I gotta do with y'all. See what I gotta do with
I would.
Just write a check just to get off my porch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you got money. You got reparations.
But you got
reparations. All right, Leroy. Back to that.
Pitiful.
Back to the conversation.
I wonder then who. I guess because the system that she went through to find out Will's name and stuff.
U.S. Treasury.
Right. So she figured out that Will can get the reparations because of what happened.
She figured out that if I want to DNA test him without going through
anybody,
I need to go through the U.S. Treasury because then they will give me information on him.
And shout out to that museum. That was very creative.
That was though. No, but I'm saying she found out through the call that they said like you're eligible for
because he is a descendant of the he was a descendant of someone who survived Tulsa.
Right.
She didn't go there thinking he would get those. He went there
to
get his name.
To get his name and to get his DNA.
I'm just saying, I guess, did it say, I remember it said that she was in Vietnam or something like that.
Vietnam was a state.
Yeah. But I guess I'm looking too deep in it thinking about how did she's already getting reparations without even having to know that she was.
We knew she was getting reparations because of what happened in that episode. We didn't know she was
getting them. But is she really getting them? Because people are just assuming that she's getting them. There was never a conversation with her saying,
We don't know that, but we know that she is a descendant of someone who survived through Will. And so you can infer those things put together. We don't know what her backstory is. We don't know how she became a police officer. We don't know what happened to her and her parents, but we know that Will is her grandfather, and she is a descendant. She didn't go there thinking. She went there because if I turn him in to get a DNA test, then I have to admit he called me, he knew who I was, and then I would have to admit, why did I not let you people know ahead of time, and why am I just now bringing him in? Because you saw when she went to Nixonville, that cup was sitting on the dash. She didn't take that to police. Mm-hmm. She did not tell anybody. She went for the DNA.
Right.
To find out who he was because she knew through the network of the U.S. Treasury.
She'd be able to figure that out. The only thing I'm trying to figure out is if she knew that she was a descendant. That's the only thing that I want to know.
No, I don't think
she knew that she was a descendant.
I don't think she went looking for that.
Because even when she was asking the question, when on the phone call for Will, and they were asking the question, like say your name, and she gave another name of someone who could be related. It was almost like she was hesitant to say that, but knew that if she said it, she would get an answer that she thought she.
And remember, putting her name in there. Remember, putting her name in there for the Treasury Department also links her to Will. Yeah. You got to remember, she did all of this to keep him out of the system. Yeah. As a detective, what she's trying to do is run her own investigation because all the questions that comes up of how this man is connected to you then takes her off the case.
Right.
So
she on some Law and Order type stuff.
And because and not only that, she's trying to figure out because if what he is saying is true, and there is a conspiracy, what is the conspiracy? Because one, the 7th Cavalry who shot her is dead, but the second one, who was that who allowed her to live? Was that Judd? A lot of people are asking, did Judd have a change of heart if that was him in the house?
Because he was the only one after the White Knight who we know of at this point that was out there without a mask as an officer.
Yep.
So it's like if 7th Cavalry is doing this stuff, they know they don't need to mess with him anyway.
But the question is,
if he's connected to them in that way.
If he is, or it could be, because remember the picture of last episode, not this previous one, the last episode from last week.
That we saw in his
as a
closet.
kid with a father.
Yep, there you go. That kid with his father, and who was that father? And could it be he kept that in there to remind himself, I'm never gonna be like him? Because it wasn't hard to find.
Yeah, it wasn't.
She was like, it was in the closet, and Louis Gossett Jr. was like,
well, I didn't tell you.
I took it to a closet. She was like, you said the closet, and that was very interesting right there. But then you realize,
I'm trying to be coded. You over here trying to be taking it literally.
and the thing is,
Also,
trying to
another
be
reference,
smooth.
they said it was like the glasses that she used were kind of night owlish. That was dope too.
And then remember, he said he was a part of a vast conspiracy. What is that conspiracy? And what in the hell does that got to do with that light that came up and dropped a magnet onto her car? Took
Friends
him
in
up?
high
Because
places.
my thing is this. The 7th Cavalry ain't got any of those.
Nah.
So I'm not saying he couldn't be 7th Cavalry, but if there's a vast conspiracy at work, you would think he might have been higher up that food chain to where he wasn't just riding a regular truck that could have just got taken out by stop sticks.
Do you think that this series is probably going to go on with a lot of like the old heroes, like the Night Owls or Silk Spectres? They're just going to kind of pop up and they'll say like, we're here still trying to do work because we know this is a conspiracy.
There's we don't know, but we do know if you go online. I'm trying to remember what this site is called. I put it on. Was talking to some people in the group on our page. So HBO actually has a data dump of talking about the Rorschach Diaries and talking about there's backstories of this show. If you go online, I think it's called the Pedia. I have to go, but if you go, it basically details how some old costume heroes went into the FBI and how there's this whole backstory that fills in why they believe Adrian Veidt is dead, Ozymandias, where Silk Spectre and Owlman went.
I thought Jeremy Irons was supposed to be.
He's supposed to be Adam Veidt, but Adrian Veidt, but the world thinks he's dead.
Right.
And he's over here just killing his clones.
But we don't know what time period that is.
Who we may think may be the clones of Dr. Manhattan.
I don't think they're clones of Dr. Manhattan. They were reenacting Dr. Manhattan's transformation. And he's writing a play. But again, that does not even tie into anything.
And that was so messed up. I thought first of all, I thought that they were more robots than human clones. And so when old boy's in there screaming to death because he's on fire and you got like the other clone crying, it's just, I don't know. It didn't seem right. But again, I think we spoke about this in the last our last review that these were probably going to be clones, and so that's another question that was answered.
Mr. Phillips.
I mean, it's one of those things where we don't know how Ozymandias' story ties into this.
Right.
We know we got an introduction. If you saw the trailer for the episode before this one, you saw there was a woman of Asian descent who said, "I know how to help you stop."
Yeah.
And the 7th Cavalry, and then you saw the scene with the guys with the newspaper. Young Asian girl pulled up in a white.
That might be one of her people that works for her.
And remember, the guy asked her, "Does she read all these newspapers?" Yeah. And remember, she said, "Yeah, don't you?" And he was like, "Yeah, I do, but I don't believe him." But that showed you how powerful the human mind is. That if again, reading the book, Ozymandias, his whole idea was, I will try to get humanity to work together through trying to destroy the world with this giant squid. Human beings, even faced with facts, will refuse to believe them. And so, I don't know what he thought, I don't know what he was doing, but you see this whole idea where they're like, debating the giant squid thing. And then you see the 7th Cavalry who've gotten a hold of what they believe is the Rorschach Diaries. They believe in a vast conspiracy. So you see that there's a lot of little, I want to see tentacles going along here. You don't know how they all tie into each other, but you see whatever Ozymandias tried to do failed.
Didn't work.
It didn't work. So the question is, what does he have planned next? And who is in this vast conspiracy? And what has Will got to do with it?
I think there's multiple, obviously there's multiple storylines, and maybe some of these don't even connect. But I think we're getting sucked in with the 7th Cavalry storyline. You know, that's going to draw us in, especially people who don't necessarily know everything about the Watchmen or don't know all the background. That's going to draw anybody who is living in America right now or even around the world in. And then you introduce these other storylines that continue to create the whole story that we're following every week. I think that they do a really good job of giving you just enough of what's going on to feel like you know what's going on, but then also drop things in there that make you say, wait, so that ain't really what y'all was going. So you know what I mean. So it's like I think they're doing a good job with keeping our interest, with giving us the little nuggets that we need each episode. I mean, we got 7 more episodes, right? So do you think? I mean, clearly this is a series that is going to.
It's going past one season.
It's going past one season.
So even when you, so I think.
So do you think even if you answer maybe 2 of the storylines, and there's 4 in total or something, and you answer 2, we're still gonna hold on to those other ones.
I mean, it's not even holding on. It's how you tell the story. If you go back and watch, we talked about this when we reviewed the Westworld. That first episode was just what? Then the second episode. And then you finally got a little bit more as the season went on, and you realize, but then you realize at the end of that first season, there was a whole nother plan that Ford had that wasn't even implemented. And then you didn't even know.
Such a dense show.
And so this show is 9 episodes. So this show is 9 episodes. You're going into it, you know. I believe, I don't want to say this, but I believe it's already been picked up for a second season. The writer Damon Lindelof is one of the guys from Lost. He also did The Leftovers, which a lot of people are like, the twists and turns in that. So here you have a man with a writer and cast who are like, y'all think y'all know what's going on.
But you don't.
And he's on record of saying, I'm going to change your expectations or how you view police officers, police brutality, and again, think about this for a second. Everybody wants to have their own opinion on how they view cops, but that is shaped on your skin color, your background, where you live. How you view cops is going to be different in New York City or law enforcement versus how you're going to view them in, let's say, rural Texas. So, and now you take that and you bring your own preconceived notions in. You see these officers, and now you see what it looks like when officers have absolute power. And then you do one thing. You tweak what color they are. And then you tweak who they're beating up on. It changes everything in how you view. And so a lot of people accuse the show of being pro-police. Is it?
I don't know.
I mean, honestly, is it?
Because it doesn't paint anybody in a good light.
Because think about it. You saw the dudes, the moth dudes, getting shot out of the sky with electric shotguns who were trying to get the story.
That was crazy.
And that's us. That's us. Like, that was
they should have been in that. That was a very classified area, but I guess putting some drones
when
out
one
there.
of them fell down.
Street Squad.
Right.
Like when one of them fell and hit the car, you were like, what the?
Now I got to call the news runner and be like, hey, Julie, so.
And then you saw the camera, you were like,
my wings are clipped.
And then you saw another one.
Busted.
Remember you saw the other one flying? He was like,
oh.
He was like, oh. And then they got him too. They shot him out the sky.
Who does that though?
But think about it.
Corrupt police.
Wasn't that a reference with the moths? Wasn't one of the original Watchmen like a moth or something?
I do not remember.
I feel like that was something on the table.
But you got to remember, were they corrupt? Because you got to remember they were all wiped out on White Knight. So is that just protecting themselves?
Yeah.
Or
I
is
feel
that
like
corrupt?
Panda's got something going on.
Who?
Panda. Because first
Panda's a rule follower.
He was the one that was like the first cop that got killed.
He was on the line
on the phone, and he messed up with the thing. And then second, he was the main one in the meeting saying, "I don't think this is a good idea."
But he's a rule follower.
He's a rule follower.
We have those people
I think
who
something's up, Panda.
we have people who
Because
are rule
black and white.
Yin and yang.
Nope.
Think about it.
Nope.
And when they combine, it's great.
Episode
So you
6,
never know.
I'm calling something gets revealed about Panda.
Episode 6. That's
Episode
how long it's gonna
6.
take.
Y'all remember that? And at Avery, at the Great Avery, online, when it doesn't happen, or if it does happen, because I want no part of that. Because
So go ahead.
so
Let us know what y'all think.
I mean, there's so many things
Shut
to
up,
go. There's so many things and little Easter eggs. I don't know if you guys paid attention in the first episode when she was separating the yolks from the whites, and then that
Oh, I caught the
that
smiley
face.
face reference.
But then notice that Louis Gossett Jr. was eating eggs.
What's up with these eggs?
do you-
And again, how did he just
Hold
stick
on.
his hand in a hard in
Hold on.
boiling water?
Did you notice the song that was playing at the end of this episode? Who was by?
Yeah, I don't know who it's
The
by,
Beastie
but I know
Boys.
Well, guess what it's called?
eggs
Eggs
something.
Egg song.
Yeah.
So
Eggs.
what-
Some
so-
eggs.
So I mean,
wasn't how best opening to a show I almost ever seen with the song. Diamonds crushed up. I can see it. With Future, we went from the Tulsa
We did.
Tulsa
It was just random.
bombing to Future with the white man.
but again, this is a show that's
changed it.
going to change your expectations of what you think
She belonged to the
of
street.
what this show is going to be. And we hadn't even got into, if you remember the flag. The flag. The
Oh yeah, I
stars
don't
were
even know how
circled.
we.
The stars were circled,
I ain't gonna lie, that new flag is real wavy.
but the flag that is not 50 states.
Yeah,
That's
It's
more.
51,
more than
right?
50 states.
It's more than 50
It's more
states.
than that.
Vietnam's a state.
Yeah,
So
Vietnam.
now you have to ask yourself: is what else changed? They're using real events.
Just flipping the way that
Because they
the
said
outcomes.
Nixon
Not
was
even-
president for 20 years, right?
Nixon was president in the book. He was on his third term.
That's
Robert
crazy.
Redford became president,
Right.
and that's how you. But you got to remember, these are real events. They haven't. Those first two openings, both of those things happened,
Right.
and so they're starting each of these episodes with a real event, and then that changes how you see going forward. It really clouds your mind to the point of you see it from this perspective because you saw a little boy, and remember that piece of paper from the very beginning of the episode that lady typed in English kept going throughout the entire episode.
Didn't they say that was the lady? She's the mother of the guy that they found drowned in the water with the bullet in his head.
talking
No,
about
that's the American show.
Oh, you know, I think maybe I'm just thinking about comic reference. I don't know. I gotta look back at it again because the last name was Mueller or whatever. I think they were saying that the strong man who was supposed to be
That's a TV
Hooded
show.
Justice. Strong.
You confusing the two. The lady in the beginning who was typing,
Yeah.
that really happened. That was the woman who speaks German who was dropping. Remember they were dropping
Yeah, with
the propaganda.
Yeah.
The strong man is part of the American Hero story. That's
which
totally
is a show
separate.
that they're watching in the
that's
show.
That's a show that they're watching within
It's like
the show.
Inception. How many
Yeah.
levels can we go?
Pretty much, because that's what the Black Freighter was. It was a
Yes, dude.
story. It was a comic in the story, in Watchmen itself. And
Comics, the shows, the comics.
And they actually animated the Black Freighter. If you go and you buy the director's edition or the special edition of the Snyderverse movie, you get the movie and you get the story of the Black Freighter, which is voiced by Gerard Butler.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's animated and it was very interesting because
Very
a lot of people wanted that in the actual movie, but how you go to boil down 12 issues,
Right.
all the extra stuff? Because if you look at the back of this book, each episode, like at the end of each one, they had these little infographics like this under the hood. So like, how you go put that?
Yeah.
And so you got Hooded Justice and you got Rolf Mueller right here. And so right here, you have the people asking, were they the same man?
Which
And
we know. Yeah.
Well, we don't know. In the book, Hollis Mason is Rolf Mueller, the Hooded Justice man. And remember, we saw Hooded Justice, and then
See, that's
Come
what I
in
was
and
saying.
start-
Rolf Mueller, and the lady's name was Mueller.
but that
but hooded, but that's all within
Because you said you wanted
the story of that they're watching.
Yeah.
In the, I know so it's a lot.
So
again, a lot to digest. Michael, anything you want to add?
Speak from beyond the screen, Michael.
Nope. All right. Michael don't want to add nothing.
I wanted to listen to you. I was working.
All right. Guys, let's wrap this up.
You got some. What score reviews y'all got?
Well, okay, so this episode is, I don't know what I gave the last episode, but I would say that it's, as you said, continuing that same energy as Charlamagne the God says. Bring that same energy. And so I really did enjoy this episode. I think it kept asking different questions, but also answered some questions that we might have had. And I'm about to break some. So I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 Redfordation certificates.
I'm be red. You be sister night.
Oh yeah.
Give me looking glass.
I give it 5 out of 5. I give it 5 out of 5. It hasn't, to me, it's kept the same level. It hasn't wavered. It hasn't changed. It hasn't dropped in quality. It's good. I'm really liking it. So
I'm gonna give it a 4.5 because they killed my boy Judd too soon.
See. Well.
That's he's not my boy if he's.
I can't.
I'm about to say, be like my boy or Judd. We don't know this dude.
I can't knock him for that.
Okay. We'll give you that.
So, guys, let us know what you think. We're going to be trying to do this every week. You can hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, WOTX.com. And you're watching this on YouTube. Leave comments. Let us know what you think. Tell us if we missed something. I think that's it. We out.